So 21 Pilots is active again and doing shows, and they released Trench, but there are still a lot of people confused by all this Dema and Nico and Bishop stuff. What's going on? Well, that's the reason we're doing Dema for Dummies. If you haven't yet, check out the first video in the series, the one on all of the hints about this new era, before you start this one. The link's in the description, but if you've already watched that one, let's talk about the hiatus. Hey everybody, I'm Clifford Stummy, the pop song professor. Welcome to my channel where we make English class awesome by explaining and sometimes roasting song lyrics on school days. And today we are talking about 21 Pilots' year-long hiatus. Now keep in mind, we're probably not going to cover every detail that you could think of, because after all, this is Dema for Dummies, but we are going to cover a lot of ground. And I want to say too that I couldn't have done this without the help of Christy Duncan, who did the vast majority of the research for this video. So Christy, thank you so much. Let's go. It all started on July 6th, 2017, when the band's Twitter account started posting photos of a closing eye while also sharing lyrics from the band's songs. We heard You'll Have to Come and Find Me from Polarized, My Pretty Sleeper from Oh Misbeliever, Wouldn't It Be Great If We Could Just Lay Down from Slow Town, I Will Fear the Night Again from Truce, Nobody Dreams When They Blink from Kitchen Sink, Remember the Morning Is When Night Is Dead from Message Man, and Now I Just Sit in Silence from Car Radio. And indeed, the band then did continue to sit in silence for 1 year. Well, we did hear from them one more time before they completely went quiet, and that happened on July 17th. The band sent Josh to the American Press Music Awards to accept the award for Most Dedicated Fan Base.
As a lot of you guys know, we're a two-piece band. Tyler wishes he could be here. He's actually off severing ties with Dema. But I had to make sure that I was here to accept this award.
The internet did its thing and found out that Dema actually translates to Towers of Silence. And Towers of Silence came from an old religion called Zoroastrianism, and basically they would have these tall towers that they would put dead bodies on, and then birds would come and pick them clean. So then we waited and 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 waited until April 21st, 2018, when people, I don't know who, somebody with too much time on their hands, discovered that at the end of one of the videos on the store website for 21 Pilots, that in the midst of all the static, there was a web address. And it hadn't been there before. The web address basically was dma.org.info, and there was some other stuff there, but it took you to a page that said 404 error. And we read, you are in violation. They mustn't know you were here. No one should ever find out about this. You can never tell anyone about this. For the sake of the other's survival, you must keep this silent. We must keep silent. No one can know. No one can know. No one can know. And there was a violation code that if you put the violation code into the web address, it took you to a secret page where we found lots and lots of photos and GIFs. And from that point on, even until after the first single had been released, every once in a while we would see a new GIF pop up with more parts of the story that the band was telling us. There were numbers at the top of each GIF that correlated to events like Tyler and Josh's birthday or the releases of their different albums. Now, if anything disappeared from the website or they deleted it since then, I don't have access to that anymore, but based on what there is still up on the website, the first one was a letter from this character named Clancy. And basically Clancy is someone who lives in this town called Dema, named after the Towers of Silence. I've done a full video breaking down this letter. Link will be in the description. You should definitely check that out for a more detailed explanation of kind of the story here. But suffice it to say, he comes from this town run by these 9 bishops, and it's kind of a gray place where everything is like predictable and consistent, but it's just not a fun or interesting or exciting or colorful place to live. And he keeps wanting, you can feel him like dreaming about wanting to go over the walls and get out of there. And these walls are so high up that it kind of is impossible to go over them. He apparently tried to get out at some point because one of the pictures is a failed perimeter escape, FPE, The Few, The Proud, The Emotional, a clear reference to the Blurry Face album. And we see that he's in violation of the vilest code of conduct. Now, vilest sounds like the most vile, like the vilest, but it also is a reference to the religion of Dema, vilism, which if you watch the Nico and the Niners music video is basically the worship of light bulbs, which the construction, like the square that they kind of made in that music video, some have suggested could be neon gravestones. It's all connected. The next picture was of vultures around an actual Tower of Silence, and there were 21 of the vultures, which we all had fun with. And that was kind of our first hint that vultures were gonna be a very important part of whatever happened in this era. And then there was a picture of a kid that might be Clancy as a child, snipped from a larger picture of a person from the Nicholas Bourbaki math group, which will come into all of this later. And then we see this picture, a map of Dema, which was maybe the most interesting part. Part of it is torn out, but if you look at it closely and you get really like narrowed in there, you can see that it's split in the middle into 9 different sections, and there is a set of like a grid of 3x3 circles, which is a clear reference to the Blurryface album, but you also have each of them has like these words above them, and they're snippets from different songs from Blurryface, and east is up, so if you angle it 90 degrees, it actually, the snippets that these names are coming from comes from songs from Blurryface. For instance, Sacarver comes from She's a Carver, and Tyler basically just takes letters that are kind of at the end or beginning of words, snips them together, and makes it a bishop's name. And these are the bishops who rule different districts of Dema, and there have been some theories, I think, that maybe each bishop is maybe not necessarily like a different sin, but it's maybe like they have different emphases, and so everybody kind of has their own bishop who tries to rule their lives. And for Tyler, it's Nico. For Clancy, as we saw in the journal, it's Keon's. Now keep in mind, some of these are appearing and disappearing as time goes on. The website was very like actually active, and so we were constantly getting dripped content as the summer went on. But we see some hints of the yellow duct tape in the next picture, and then we get into another little snippet from Clancy. And it's him hoping and wishing that he'll be able to get out of Dema one day. He says, this hope of discovery alone has birthed a new version of myself, a better version. I hope that we'll find a way to experience what's beyond these colossal walls. He wants to... And then we saw a gif of a cheetah, obviously a reference to Pet Cheetah, but there were a bunch of letters flashing at the top of it, and if you roiled those letters out and you took out the letters that weren't supposed to be there, basically you still don't know his real name, do you? And the letters that you took out would have been Nico. Again, a reference to the album and a reference to Tyler's bishop. After that, we saw a picture of some rocks with some what turned out to be banditos. I think there are actually 21 of them, and this was a clear reference to the Jumpsuit music video that was coming soon. And at this point, some of these gifs started to appear after music videos had already been being released, so technically not hiatus, but I do want to still talk about them because I don't want to have to save them for the trench explanation part 3. Obviously, we have a gif of the vulture, kind of re-emphasizing the importance of vultures to this area, people who feed on pain. Another letter from Clancy where we hear, as their penance fades, so dims their memory of something more. My hope of something more is all I have in this rigid tomb, and I will not let it die, as maybe he's really struggling to be able to continue his perimeter escape. There's a horizon of what it looks like with Dema kind of in this landscape. And we get another letter from Clancy as he's about to begin the escape. He says they're asleep. The night took forever to arrive, and now we're almost ready. We've studied the Watchers and know that there's no chance we can step through unnoticed. So instead of trying to hide ourselves, we'll make sure that all of us are noticed. It's been 1 year since the last convocation, and tomorrow's annual assemblage of Glorify will be the biggest spectacle this concrete coffin of a city has seen all year, which seemed to be a reference to the first concert, the Complete Diversion concert that 21 Pilots did in London. There was a gif of a torch, which is a reference to the Nico and the Niners music video as the banditos come in under the city to rescue Tyler. And we won't actually get into these, but there's 2 more letters from Clancy kind of talking about the escape attempts that he's had, and one even narrating where he's watching the Jumpsuit music video happen from like a hiding place in the rocks. And then the final picture is of Tyler laying in the rocks in the water before the Jumpsuit music video starts. But perhaps the most exciting thing, July 6th, we got an email from 21 Pilots, which was the Vulture, and it had the subject line, "Are you still sleeping?" And this meant that something was about to start happening, and this is when we started hearing all sorts of rumors that the next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, we were finally gonna get a new music video. GIFs and pictures started showing up like crazy on the secret website. We saw an eye of the Vulture appear on the Twitter on July 9th, which meant something was legitimately happening. It was the first time their Twitter had done anything, and their Twitter profile showed the new logo. Yellow tape started appearing. July 10th, the Vulture's eye opened wider. And not to end this too dramatically, but little did we know what would be coming on July 11th, 2018. That was kind of an abrupt and dramatic ending, but that was kind of how the hiatus ended too. Abrupt and dramatically. Guys, get ready for part 3. We're gonna be talking about Trench and Dema within the album itself, all the references, the meanings there. And if you want to continue this conversation with me and a bunch of really cool people directly, be sure to check out my Patreon community in the description down below. We talk about 21 Pilots all the time. It's a part. Hope that you enjoyed this video. Be sure that if you haven't looked at the first one, go back and watch that. And if you have friends who are confused about what Dema is and what is going on with Trench, maybe these videos would make you a good friend to share with them. In any case, feel free to check out these videos. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.